Innovation Unplugged from the Alabama Community College System's Innovation Center takes you inside Alabama's workforce development. Join us for enlightening conversations with community leaders and industry experts showcasing experiences, addressing key issues, and celebrating successes in the workforce initiatives across the state. Okay, welcome back to Innovation Unplugged, a production of the ACCS Innovation Center. I'm Houston Blackwood, the Workforce Director for the Innovation Center, and I have with me...
I'm Kailah Dozier, and I'm the Marketing Director for the Innovation Center.
And today we are super blessed to have a very special guest, Dr. Brock Kelley from LBW College in Andalusia, Alabama. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing? Thanks for having me. Looking forward to it, guys.
Well, we make our list, and we have a hit list of who we want on this show, and our top candidates. And when we look at our results from the Skills for Success and as a system, from credit hour production just to growth of different programs, LBW is at the top. Dr. Kelley and his team are at the top. So we wanted to make sure we had a chance for you to highlight the things that you do well. And, of course, we'll talk about Skills for Success too. But this isn't really necessarily about Skills for Success, but it's more about the why and the how that you do what you do, and what makes Dr. Kelley unique, what makes LBW unique. So that's where we'll go through, and it's always interesting, and we get some really good nuggets out of each of these conversations. So first off, man, we're just looking at your background is a lot like mine. You teacher, coach, athlete, then you became a principal, and then you got into the college system. And so tell us about that journey, what it was like for you going from I don't know what I'm going to do to now I've picked a path, and here you are now at the top of the food chain.
Yeah, I never thought I'd be in education whatsoever. I called my dad, I think a week before I was supposed to intern, and asked if I could change my major. And he's like, absolutely not. And, I wanted to coach baseball. I wanted to coach at the collegiate level. That was my passion, or I thought was my passion. And then, one thing led to another. And next thing I knew, I was married and was working in enterprise, and I was on a whole different path. And I tell my the seniors that come in that we're doing, orientation for, and I tell them, guys, I'm on plan D. And it's okay if your plan A, plan B doesn't work out, because, I'm blessed to be here, and coming back to LBW where I went to school has been an amazing journey, and, I couldn't be happier with plan D. So, and I think that's a good message for our students when they come in, to hear that there's so much pressure when they get out of high school. Hey, you need to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And, you've gone to school 13 years now, and now it's the time to get on a pathway, and you can't change. And, for someone that is the president of the college saying plan A didn't work out, plan B didn't work out. And to be honest with you, plan A would be singing on the stage in Nashville if I could sing. That's my passion right there.
Okay.
In the shower and singing and sounding bad, but obviously I wasn't blessed with the singing voice, so now I'm here at LBW. So
okay, that's a long way from being a country music star to this.
That's right.
But it's good.
That's right.
Now, would you be more of the Morgan Wallen Nashville star, or would you be more of the Tim McGraw? Which one are you? Are you pop country or soulful country?
I'm definitely not pop country, but I'm not love music country. I like all type of music, but I'll tell you, I'm an Eric Church fan. The Chief album.
Oh yeah,
can't go wrong with Eric Church. He's gotten a little more poppy as he's gotten out there, but old school Eric Church back in 2013, 2014. That's where it was.
Yeah, that Chief album was really good. I remember I have an old Land Cruiser, and the last time the CD player worked, that was the CD that was in it. I think it's still in there, but I can't get it out. It broke bad. Okay, what about Cody Jinks?
I like Cody Jinks.
Okay.
Cody Jinks has some good music. I like that deep voice country music. But I tell you, when it comes to female singers, Lainey Wilson, in my opinion, and Allison Krauss. They have beautiful voices, and I could listen to them sing. But yeah, country music is what I love to listen to. Now in college, I was not a country music singer or country music fan.
Okay.
I was straight through Seether
Oh gosh.
and rock music. Yeah, so it was.
I don't know
I've
who
made a
those people
change.
are.
I think there are
You
some.
know,
I don't know. Sing something. Maybe I do
Oh
know.
yeah, please,
oh,
please give us a good riff of Seether.
yeah.
That would be awesome. I feel like there are some stories there that we won't tell on this show, but it's good to know that side of you, because what we see is like super professional, consummate like college president guy. So I know there's a background in everybody, but maybe sometime soon we'll have a chance to talk about those other things. We're working on some stuff with sub-regional with each college or group of colleges like in your area, just to have a really informal conversation with y'all about where we've come from and where we're going and how we make it work best. Because we've had success, but now we need to, from our side, we need to pivot a few places so it keeps going well. So, Kailah, what you got?
I would say, you've been with us from the beginning, so you've kind of seen the things that we've been working through, process improvement all the time. But I would say a lot of the times we hear, how is LBW doing that? Or what is it that they are doing that is bringing them success, specifically with Skills for Success? So we obviously work with Chad on a daily basis. We text all the time, talk to him. He always has great ideas. But from your perspective, we want our audiences to know from your lens what makes LBW so successful with a new program like this that has not really been done like this in the past. And so we would love to hear your thoughts on why you think that you guys are able to be so successful, specifically with Skills for Success.
Yeah, and I think our success at LBW definitely hinges on Chad. Bringing Chad in and letting him go and just saying, "Hey, you dream. You take the guidelines that ACCS puts out there. This is the system, and let's go meet the needs of the community, whatever that looks like. Where we have to go, let's just go do it. And at the end of the day, if we can help people in our community, that's what it's all about." And Chad has the same mentality, and Chad's a great worker. I hit a home run when I was able to hire him, our director of workforce, and and this is Chad. This is nothing new for Chad. Chad was innovative, and Chad was doing things in Indiana that caught my eye. Is even when I was a director of workforce for K-12. So having him on board is good, and he's a difference maker. And, when you look at LBW's success, it falls on Chad. And he is the one that, I don't even have to, he's one that I have to rein back in sometimes and say, all right, let's look at it from this lens. Let's look at it from this way. But I would rather have that. And he's a go-getter. But ultimately, our success also is dependent on you guys and what the Innovation Center does. And I've been an advocate of what you guys are doing since day one. It is the single most important thing that we have done in the past 4 years, and it is a game changer for our communities. The Innovation Center and the Skills for Success, now we are able to go into a community and never say no. And we are always able to give them and meet their need. And I think that's a difference maker too, where these communities that do not have the resources and look to their local community college for help in years past, if I didn't have the program, then I couldn't help them.
Yeah.
But now with the rollout of Skills for Success, the answer is yes. Now we just start building how we can help them. And I think the willingness of LBW, the willingness of Chad, and the willingness of you guys to come together and figure out a way is what's really changing the landscape of how workforce is viewed across the state. And Chancellor Baker is the leader, and he has done a great job with coming up with this along with his team. And I'll tell you another part that was key in this whole thing is when the Innovation Center first started. We were talking about Innovation Center courses, and when the Innovation Center says we're just going to be the hub, and we're going to allow the colleges to be the deliverer and the marketers of this, that is what changed the game. So we appreciate that, so that now we can go to our local industry and say, LBW in coordination with ACCS can offer this, and we can meet the needs, and we can help you deliver a product to your constituents in your community. So I really think that's the game changer, and I think, all the praise goes to you guys, and I'm very excited about the future of the Innovation Center and what we have rolling out with Skills for Success. I would venture to say that I've been the most advocate or the biggest fan of the Skills for Success, because there's nothing that I can say negative about it.
Well, we appreciate you saying that for sure. And I would also say this on camera, that everywhere we go, we try to tell everyone that without the colleges, we do not exist, right? We are an extension of your team. And so we want to be that resource. And I'm glad that you see that we can fit into what you guys are already doing and enhance what you're doing in your community. So I would say too, we hear it all the time that employers are saying, okay, this seems too good to be true. This is something that we've always kind of thought was a possibility, and now my community college is delivering for me. And specifically for LBW, there are multiple companies that we hear left and right, or community partners that are using you guys. What kind of testimonies are you hearing from your side of how you guys have impacted your local community with Skills for Success?
Well, I mean, I'll tell you right offhand with CDL. I came in 2020 as the president, and the first meeting I had was, hey, LBW needs a CDL program. So I was like, yeah, I think so too. When going down that path and trying to, what's the cost and cost analysis of that, that's an expensive program to start from point A. And I never could figure out a way to deliver on that. And, I went through my first 3 years having to say, I wish we could. I think we should. Financially, LBW can't do it. And when Skills for Success was implemented, now that gave me an opportunity to go out to those people and say, hey, remember that conversation we had about CDL? We're going to be able to deliver. And Chad and his team has delivered. I don't know the exact numbers, but I think we have gotten 180 people certified in Class A and Class B CDL. And that speaks, that's a testimony in itself to be able to go from, no, we can't deliver, to all of a sudden 180 in the past, year and a half for our community. So even go ahead. I'm sorry.
What needs to be noted right now to the whole world, that you don't even have your own truck, and you've served 180 people. And that's just a testimony, I think, to Chad having the idea, hey, can I do it this way? And we're like, sure, why not? Let's see what happens. Because it fit, and you allowing him that flexibility too. And so, I mean, 180 people, I'd put that up against most of the programs that do have trucks. So it's just it's our flagship for creativity and effective use, 100%.
We like to say, and you guys have this same mentality. You mentioned it earlier, that we don't want to say no. We don't say no. We figure out a way. And I think I've learned in my time with the system office and working with community colleges that every college is unique and their process is a little bit different. And so we get the opportunity to work with each college on their process and what works in their community and what works for them. So we hope to that model is picked up across the state, that we'll figure it out. We want to deliver, we want to serve, and be partners. And that's what that looks like.
Yeah, and we're working hard to increase that reimbursement too. For Class A, because we know that for the people who have big programs with lots of trucks, and the way we have it priced is a little slim, but we did it for a reason, and there was some really good data behind it. But it didn't. In the end, it needs to change. So we're hoping by the fall to have that adjusted, so it's really conducive to the colleges to completely move in on Skills for Success for a CDL like you guys have, and I think that'll be very popular. I think
people like money.
Yeah. And I'll tell you another big conversation I had surrounding Skills for Success was our local economic developers. We were having a meeting, and they were recruiting a business to come in, and they asked me, they said, "Hey, we heard you were able to deliver this. Is this true?" And I said, "Oh yeah, we can do that through Skills for Success. We can roll that out in quick credentials, and we can get incumbent workers, we can get new workers." And they go, "We had no idea." And that's a game changer when we go into these meetings with the company that we're trying to recruit in, to be able to say the exact training you need, our local community college can do it, and do it for free. And so Skills for Success is changing workforce development, but it also is helping communities economically as well when they're trying to bring in companies. And that's a conversation that I had probably a month ago.
Okay, what was the training that they needed?
Well,
can you say?
Now we're going to fall on our NDA on that.
Okay, no problem. I figured you would say that. That's okay. Well, look, that's okay. And so when you need that, if it comes to fruition, and if there are caveats to that training, that we can bob and weave and make part 2, part 3, part 4 for whatever it is. And that's something we've not done really yet. I think motor grader's the first one that for heavy equipment that was like the top tier, that's not entry level. But as you go down that road, you just know we can always make more of something more complex for you. So never say no. Just say, I bet we can. And we'll figure it out.
I would say I had on my list of questions of you've seen all the different kinds of courses we've made, and if you had your wish list of courses, is there something that you think we should develop next?
This is a selfish thing. This is not necessarily, I guess, helping the community, but helping my pocket. So, I saw something about forelaying, and learning. I think it's very interesting to deliver on skills that people can do some, do-it-yourself projects. And I know that's not the top of the list, but I think it's extremely, interesting that, you have professional people, our mayor or our city council members are taking courses in Skills for Success, or even in our 9-credit courses, just to learn a new skill. And I think that's awesome. And
I don't want to cut him off, but
you should know.
Yes, we actually are 80% of the way with a floor covering course, and actually Kay is going to be on our podcast later today that we're doing a podcast with her, and she's executive director of the Floor Covering Association, I believe. But yes, I would agree that has been a buzz around that course. Even my husband was like, "Can I take that course?"
So
drywall is another one.
Okay.
My wife gets on me all the time. We take a picture down, and she's like, "You need to fix that," and I'm like, "Well, I need a skills for success lab before I can fix it.
Well, that's, I will hold that line for you as also the fixer of holes in the wall at my house. So you can just keep saying that you can't fix it until we build one. Speaking of that flooring, just so you know, and I will spill the tea here on it because it's coming soon, is it'll have 4 parts. There'll be hardwood, there will be tile, there'll be carpet, and there will be laminate, and those will be 4 separate labs. And it's extensive, man. It's not as complex as the nurse support tech will be, but you'll have a chance to go through, I say in 2 weeks, or if you want to spend a whole, 8 days straight, a chance to go through all 4 and have a really good understanding of what it's like. And for most of those, we'll build a base and like basically a mock floor, like a subfloor, and then they'll have to stretch the carpet or do the adhesives, whatever it is. And so it's going to be really good. And then you pair that with the carpenter helper, which piloted yesterday and today, and your electrical helper that's coming up this month also. Those are some really marketable people that you can roll out to a general contractor. I can't wait to see how you guys and other colleges sell that course and bundle those together. Talk about a summer boot camp, like kids getting out of high school that don't know.
Come take jack of all trade
for in 2 weeks. You take these courses, 2 weeks boot camp, and then all of a sudden now you can frame, you can wire or run wire, pull wire, you can do basic plumbing, and you can lay some floor, or at least how how to get started. So my goodness,
you can't quit your day job to go do all these side hustles now.
No, if I quit my day job, it would be to be a race car driver. So this is not.
I don't think we can build a course. Well,
we should. Anyway,
we don't say no.
Hey, so tell me.
I think I didn't mean to.
No, go ahead.
You got. I think it's important for legislators to know how impactful it is. So every time that I get in front of legislators talking about the impact that they're making with making those decisions and funding the Education Trust Fund, there's 3 things that I think are extremely important in funding each and every year and increasing those funding. That is dual enrollment, that is capital projects, and that is the Innovation Center. And I'll tell them those are the 3 things that the community college, if you want the state to change, those 3 things. And I think they accept that well. I was talking to a legislator and I was explaining to him skills for success, and he knew a little bit about it, but the impact, they're not aware of the impact. And he was very surprised when I was able to say, hey, we're rolling out 180 CDL drivers in your area, and that's impact.
Yeah, we were just talking this morning on the phone. We have a lot of 3-way, 4-way phone calls when we're all driving different places. But we were talking about Barry May's product. Was it called Career Coach?
Yes, Career Coach through Lightcast Data.
Yeah, and how to really connect you guys to the employer job postings so you can connect your completers to those. And I think that's something it's a disconnect for us a little bit, just I think in terms of time and method or mechanism. And Kailah knows way more about it, and I'm kind of stealing her thunder. But once we figure that out and really give you guys a handful of, hey, here's some job postings for your lab that just finished, then you guys are going to be able to keep a ticker of how many people have actually gotten a job out of Skills for Success.
In addition to building that rapport with those local employers, because a lot of the times I need to pull the thread with talking to Barry on how, employers are landing on the page or finding it to post jobs. I believe there is something set up where each individual community college has their own portal of Career Coach. And so it is, we hope and we think that, even if someone says they're ready for employment after the course, ideally we want them to take a job, but sometimes, they may not want to work for a particular employer and they look for other options. So we're in the business of giving them options. And so that's what I'm not saying it's missing, but I think the follow through on giving them additional resources after they finish a course and what to do next, and really creating that defined pathway. In Career Coach, it actually tells them based off of where they live, what community college in their area also offers the 2-year program in that related field, or a longer, maybe a 6 weeks program. If now that they've gone through Skills for Success and they've kind of wet their whistle a little bit and they've found employment and now they're ready for something, the next level, we want them to keep coming back to the community college for additional skills, training, and then obviously more money in their pocket. So we're to be continued on Career Coach, but we would love to connect with everyone, all the workforce departments, on how to utilize that as a tool in their daily world.
Yeah, it's a step in the door for these people. And I'll give you an example. If a student goes through the electrical training or the floor laying and gets on with one of these GCs or a subcontractor, well, that subcontractor may say, find a good worker and want to upskill that person. And, he had good luck with LBW Skills for Success Labs. And now he's going to go and send them to our construction associate's degree. And it's always about upward mobility. And we see that, and it may even turn into an apprenticeship. You never know. And the good thing is all of these things connect. And, throughout this whole process, I've heard that, well, I don't want it to compete with this program, or I don't want it to compete with this program. We do at LBW, we do not see it that way. We see it as step one, or, it is, maybe step 50 for somebody that's already in the industry. And this is just, getting some extra help. So, we see it as just basically another tool in someone's toolbox. And I'm lucky enough to have a director of workforce that sees the same way.
Us too, and that we appreciate that, Grace, and that ability to blur that line just a little bit. We get hit with some pretty hard boundaries sometimes by colleges, and rightfully so. I don't blame them for it because it's their bread and butter. What do you think about the high school version of this, the CRI? And you're from high school, and you were a principal of a high school, so you saw those boys and girls who, man, it got to be this time of year, their senior year, and they didn't have a plan. I mean, and you knew they didn't have a plan. For all of your best efforts, they had not landed on something. So what's your take on your feel of where that CRI and the involvement in the high schools is going to go moving forward, and maybe how it's been for you so far? I mean, you guys are at the top of the ladder, too, on just volume of high school courses. How does that look moving forward from here?
Yeah, I think you got to be careful with it. I don't think it needs, every program is right for every student. So, Chad and I have had this conversation before. Do 400 students that are at a local high school need to go through one program? No.
Yeah.
Do we diversify our programs at the high school? Yes, that's what helps. The free training helps the high schools because now they're not having to pay for the credentials. So it saves money to allow them to reallocate the money that was normally spent on credentials or the testing. They can reallocate the money toward materials or supplies that they would need in their career tech education courses. So it's beneficial to them. I think we have to be strategic when we're rolling out to high schools. But I think it does provide opportunities. And you guys actually did a story on one of our students where, the kid didn't even know, what he wanted to do. He wasn't in dual enrollment. He literally was just going to school and just making the check, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, and I'm going to graduate and figure it out.
Yeah.
And he saw his friends doing a skid steer training, and he said, you know what, since my buddies are out there, I'm just going to go do it. And the guy fell in love with it and got 6 job offers within finishing. And that's important. Yeah. And the awareness piece of what's out there, because a lot of times, and you guys know this, a lot of times our kids come out and, doctor, nurse, lawyer, and the main levels, and we don't look at what's underneath those or what the skills are needed for those jobs. You may like helping people, but does that mean you have to be a nurse? No.
No. So did Kailah take any of those job offers?
There were two stories we did. We did Kailah's story, but I think the one he might be referring to is Darian, with
the kid from Op is the one that got
high school. And I would say I wasn't there at the interview, but after watching the B-roll, his confidence level, not only just doing the course, but even on camera. And I think there's a clip in there where he says, I will be hired, or I will get a job. And so it was like he goes from going to school every day to, I don't know what I'm going to do. Let me try this. I'm actually good at this. They're putting me on camera. Yeah. They want me to sell this story. And so that in itself is just a testament to the potential of what something like this can do for a high school student, to kind of paint that picture of what their future could look like.
So I'll tell you a funny story. So Chad and I went to, I was asked to go speak at this construction meeting in Dothan, and it was a bunch of GCs. And so I go over, and I'm wearing a suit and tie, and I get up there and I start hitting them with lightcast data and why we're doing what we're doing in the construction program. And like, I can tell, like, it's not going over their head. They get it, but they're not interested in what this guy is saying. And, so then I say, they ask a question about something. I was like, Chad, come up and, talk about some of the things you're doing. So he starts talking about, skid steer and bulldozer and all the things we're doing with Skills for Success. And man, I saw guys' eyes light up and says, you mean tell me we can get somebody like this? And he's like, yeah, we're doing it. After the thing, a speaker gauges how well they did by how many people come up to him afterwards. I had one. Chad had like 10 people around him. And I was like, Chad, like, I data blitzed them, and you said what they needed to say or what they needed to hear. And man, it's just gold. And with what we can offer now it's invaluable. And I saw that night, because, they can sit there and listen to some guy talk about why we're doing things, but when somebody heard action, that's what they're interested in. And that was great. But one of our GCs in our area actually offered another kid out of high school and out of Strawn, actually. So a lot of our GCs are excited about what we're doing. A lot of our subcontractors are excited what we're doing. And we actually, this is funny, our Dean of Instruction's kid is wanting to take a Skills for Success lab. So a student, contacted our workforce people and said, I want to take this lab. And they said, well, we can do it. Can you get other people to do it? He has now recruited 6 people of his friends.
I love that.
Yeah, exactly. So we just have this random, well, it's not random, it's our Dean of Instruction's kid, 15 years old, 16 years old, and he's recruiting his buddies to take this because he wants to do it. And
and every teacher probably at that school was like, how can I generate this kind of reaction from my students to come to my class? That's awesome.
They're not recruiting like that for history.
No,
they're not.
But we hear those stories a lot of just, teachers saying this student was uninterested. And the minute I say you can jump on a skid steer tomorrow, they're like, okay, what do I need to do in the classroom to make that happen? And so if that one student is affected by Skills for Success, I think we would say that is successful.
That's a win.
So
it's a win. Yeah, I remember being a teacher in my last year, my last semester. I now taught freshmen, so they were nowhere near being ready for graduation. But I remember watching them, wondering what they would do with their lives, and now seeing some of those same types of kids come through the K-12 version, and seeing a lot of them as adults that are coming back to these open enrollment courses. It's really nice to know that there's an option out there. How do you guys sell the wages that are available with these jobs? Is that part of your sales pitch, or do you just let the interest drive itself?
Yeah, the interest drives it. We don't, living in Southeast Alabama, the wages are going to be different than living in, Huntsville or Mobile or anything like that. So, that's not part of our sale, because we don't want to sell something that, may or may not be true based on where they want to work. So, we sell opportunity. And then from there, the opportunity creates the competition between the employers. And now I'm in negotiation mode if I have multiple employers wanting me. So that's important. And I think another thing that's important, going back to K-12, is getting teachers involved with Skills for Success, and not necessarily in terms of trying to get them skilled, or might be, but just giving them an understanding of how the math and the science works with a skid steer or with meat cutting or so now, those students, they can engage. It becomes a multifaceted approach when educating students, because I see, coming from the K-12 world, I saw a lot of our academic teachers, they're disassociated with the career tech side of things.
Completely.
But, but they're all intertwined together. Now, if I'm a teacher and I can now relate, a bulldozer on a math problem, now I'm starting to engage students on a different level. So, we can't expect teachers to do that unless they've experienced those things.
That's a good point. We're speaking this summer at the class convention. So that's the Council for Leaders in Alabama Schools, the administrator, I'm sure you know. And they were also speaking at the ALSDE Career Tech Conference, but we missed the sign up for the mega conference, which is all the teachers. But we have a K-12 person who kind of runs that show. But interesting you say that. I was at the Solid Waste Conference a couple of weeks ago, and I was listening to the presentation about which direction of compaction with the machine is best, uphill, downhill, or diagonal. And apparently diagonal uphill is best. I think it's uphill. Anyway, diagonal is best. And so they run it forwards, backwards, sideways. Then they go diagonal. But the math on that and the compression and all that, that'd be a really interesting quantum physics, because it's just some super complicated math in there.
And they actually reached out after you went to that conference and said, we need a math operator course for the water treatment.
Yeah.
And so I think a couple schools have dabbled in the math portion of water treatment and wastewater treatment, but we hear the math part integrated. I mean, just yesterday with carpentry and measurements and all the things, that it is really practical, even for someone that may not go into the construction field.
Yeah, there was a young man yesterday at the carpentry lab, and he was trying to figure out that tape measure, and it's on 16ths. And if you've never been around it, boy, that's black magic. And the guy that was working with him was kind of messing with him a little bit, but he was like, okay, well, show me, 1/16, 1/8, and then now show me 2/8. And the guy was like, what? 2/8? And then he's like, well, that's 1/4. And then the other kid came over and he was like, well, hey, show me the 2/4 mark. And I'm like, come on, y'all. Like, let's not make this complicated. Let's just call it what it is. But they had never seen a tape measure, Dr. Kelley. These kids had never seen a tape measure, and it was just blowing their mind. But seeing that, and he's not a doctor, Mr. McMichael was the instructor, and he could teach it in his sleep. But he was so good because he came over and just laid it out. But it's an interesting thing to have all these kids moving through these courses. What's it like for you? Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I mean, could you imagine the impact? You know how conferences are. You have these breakout sessions, and everybody goes in there and sits in the back of the room and listens to the speaker.
Yeah.
But the innovations breakout session was outside, and you're going to get on a bulldozer, and you're going to learn the math behind the, doing bulldozers, skid steer.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm like, okay, well, I'll sign up for that. I was like, that's a lot cooler than sitting around being in a freezing cold conference room. So, but
yeah, it's a chemistry, the force and the volume and all the the physics formulas for.
Don't look at me. I don't write the curriculum. I just sell it.
For the volume and stuff. But sure, like how much force, how much fluid you have to have in this canister. There's a lot to it. It would be cool. I don't know if we'll get to all that ever, but it's a fun thing to have. What do you want to see us do? Like not a course or not funding, but like a process or just a mindset. What would be, in your perfect world, what would be the next approach we would take to making these things work for the colleges?
Making the skills for success,
making the whole process, like, is there something that we're missing, or you say, I wish they're pretty good, but I wish they would do it this way for us?
I don't know. I'd have to think about that one. I feel like we have a pretty good process now.
Mm-hmm.
That's a question for Chad.
So maybe,
fair.
Chad's the one that's, working with the paperwork and working with all the stuff on it. But, it just gives me a lot of confidence knowing that when I go out to speaking engagements, I can talk about the Skills for Success labs and say that this is the answer. And, the process behind that.
I appreciate what you guys do. Everything that you guys are rolling out. I'm loving the healthcare thing. When you roll that out, that's going to line right with our rural healthcare grant that we just got. And I told the hospital administrator, I said, watch, this is about to roll out potentially. And she got super excited about it. So this is what we've been waiting on. This is the game changer. And I appreciate you guys leading it.
Yeah. Well, we're happy to be in the fight with you for sure. Kailah, final thoughts?
No, I just appreciate you sharing your heart behind all of this, your thoughts, because as our audience listens, we want them to know the perspective of our presidents and how we're serving the communities in your local area, but also just from your perspective. So we value your thoughts, and thanks for sharing with us. So I will wrap up our time together. So those of you listening, thank you for hanging in there with us. We're thankful for y'all, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe on all of our podcast platforms.